Welcome back to MindScience, episode 35. Today I'd like to unpack the topic of mental labels. And what I'd like to accomplish in this video is to really help you understand why mental labels are not just some sort of annoying thing the mind does, but are the literal code that keeps you trapped in the matrix. The world that you experience on a day-to-day basis is in fact nothing more than a matrix of mental labels that the mind has created. And enlightenment is really nothing more than experiencing reality without these mental labels and preconceptions and ideas that the mind superimposes upon it. When we experience reality in its naked essence, we find that there is an indescribable richness and satisfaction to every moment, and that everything seems to contain a kind of innocence and purity. Or in other words, devoid of our ideas about it, reality is perfect. And so a common phrase that you've likely heard me repeat on this channel is, the map is not the territory. And I'd like to unpack this truth a little bit more for you, because understanding this is one of the most helpful components for spiritual development. Because if you don't have a deep understanding of this fact, then you'll likely wind up with a kind of mental library full of spiritual doctrines and information that you don't actually embody or experience in your daily life. So the idea is this. The mind labels every objective minutia of reality in an attempt to know it, because it can remember these labels and refer to its past experiences of them, and that's certainly helpful from a purely survival standpoint. But the problem from a spiritual standpoint is that once the mind creates a label for something, it only ever relates to the label, but never to the thing itself. So the concept becomes the reality, or the map becomes the territory. But just because you've read a map of San Francisco and can describe the geography to me perfectly, doesn't mean you've ever stood on the Golden Gate Bridge and smelled the ocean air or felt the sunset breeze across your face. You've never walked through Ghirardelli Square and tasted the food, met the people, or walked through Pier 39 and watched the sea lions. You've never experienced San Francisco because the map is not the territory. The concept is not the reality. But it's even more dangerous than that, because what this labeling effect does over time is creates this kind of dream world in our own imagination that we become stuck inside of and just continually reinforces itself. I am this person, I've done these things, these are my desires and fears, these are my traumas which now define me, and so on and so forth. And the more real that this dream becomes within our mind, the more we suffer at the hands of our own imagination. And even more than that, as long as you're taking any one label or aspect of the dream to be real, the rest of it will appear equally real as well. And this is why whenever we have an experience of true cosmic consciousness, where all ideas of the universe drop away and we experience ourselves as one with everything, the feeling we get is always, oh my God, this is so real. How could I have never seen this before? And that is because there are no degrees of being in reality. You're either in it or you're not. Now, you might ask, but why does it work that way, Aaron? And it works that way because reality is entirely free of your ideas about it. It doesn't acknowledge even 1% of your dream as being true. It doesn't regard any of it. Reality is as it always is, eternally. Because if reality was constantly morphing and changing to fit all of our ideas about it, then there would be no such thing as reality. So you're either in the dream world or in reality, but never both at the same time. The two are like oil and water. They are completely separate from one another. So now you might be asking, then who can break free from this prison of ideas? What can be done about this? And just like Morpheus said to Neo, if you want to know what the Matrix is, if you want to break free from this prison in your mind, you have to red pill yourself. You have to begin questioning your dream. Reality is always present all around you, and it is never affected in the least by yours or anyone's ideas about it. You yourself are, in fact, the very reality you seek. The trouble is, reality is so near to you that there is no room to see it. To see what is true, you must unsee what is false. No matter how accurate we believe our words and definitions are, we must understand that they fail completely at capturing reality. When we think we know what something is, we become deadened to the aliveness and mystery of it. Bird, tree, sun, ocean. The mind says, I know what those things are. And yet, how the moment of seeing a bird flying across a tropical sunset steals our breath away, we have no way of explaining. Because bird is not a bird, tree is not a tree, sun is not the sun, and ocean is not the ocean. These are just sounds we make with our mouths, and then the mind refers to our past experience of those concepts, thinking that that is its reality. And because of this arrogant assumption, we never experience the mystical, timeless radiance of the here and now. This is the paradox of spiritual seeking. Forgetting is remembering. You must come to realize that the entire world you experience is unreal and untrue. All of it is an illusion, in the same way that moonlight is an illusion. The moon only reflects the sunlight and has none of its own light to give. Likewise, the world of form is only a reflection of God's mind, a dream of the one dreamer. And to be awake in the dream is to understand that you do not know what anything means or what its purpose is. This is why in Buddhism, the highest state of knowledge is called beginner's mind. Forgetting what something is allows you to experience its eternal essence. As the Buddha says in the Diamond Sutra, bodhisattvas should depart from all appearances. They should give rise to a mind which does not dwell. Let's suppose that you purchased a new home at the address of 1105 Morningside Drive. So you follow the address to the location and meet your realtor there. Upon arriving, you turn to your realtor and say, "Where the hell is 1105 Morningside Drive? I've purchased it. I want to see it." And the realtor looks at you puzzled and gestures towards the house and says, "Why, sir, here it is. This is your new home, 1105 Morningside Drive." And you turn to him and say, This is just a stupid building. I want to see 1105 Morningside Drive, damn it." This is the way that the mind engages with reality. The address is not the home. It only serves to lead you there. And once you get there, you don't need the address anymore. Likewise, mental labels are only pointers that lead you to reality. And this is the way they should be used. But the mind doesn't look at labels as pointers. It looks at them as facts. And this is where we get into trouble. 1105 Morningside Drive doesn't exist. It's just an idea, and you can't experience it. The address is made up. Only the home can be experienced. And likewise, when we experience reality, we no longer need or can even use labels to describe it. So in this way, a concept or a label only serves as a placeholder for reality. It points beyond itself and simply says, I represent something that you haven't experienced yet. Once you experience it, you no longer need me. So we can use concepts and labels as helpful pointers in this way, such as, this is my friend, Mark. But inwardly, I know that the word Mark is not who this person is, and all of my ideas and beliefs about Mark. Mark is something the universe is doing, an unfolding mystery. And so I allow Mark to remain a mystery to me, so that I can always experience his reality. And so when we take labels and concepts to be facts and realities, they turn against us and attack us and cause us suffering. So no one has ever committed suicide to escape reality, but only to escape from their own ideas about it. Mental labels create karma because they bind us to the world of form. The more belief we invest in the world of form, the more karmically involved the mind becomes with it. This is what ensures that the soul must be born again to untangle itself from these karmic knots until it can remember its eternal, unbounded nature. The soul must return to human lifetimes again and again until it wakes up from the dream of Maya. How does the soul wake up? Simply by forgetting everything. Forget who you think you are, what has happened to you, or what the world is. When you are finally without all of these labels, you will instantly recognize that you are in fact in a dream. But to see this fact, your sense of I must no longer refer to a character in the dream. It must become universal. All other I's will get bound to a form and be reborn again. The waking state must become just as unreal to you as your dreams at night. And contrary to what the ego might say, this does not create a license for doing evil, because dream actions still have dream consequences, which is what we call karma. Karma makes the dream appear real, and the more you judge and label the dream world, the more karma you create. But by forgetting everything we think we know, we cleanse the mind of karma and join it with reality. In the absence of karma, everything is recognized as my own eternal self. Every person, every object, and every event is God appearing. The one who knows that everything is just a dream appearing in God's mind is free of all karma. They live in perfect harmony with everything because everything is recognized to be my own self. The person who goes around killing and stealing obviously is still taking the dream world to be real and actively turning it into a nightmare. The one who is free of karma can turn it into the happiest of dreams, full of unity and love. We only suffer because we separate ourselves from the world by thinking so much about it. And the mind only thinks about the world because it takes everything to be real. There's a really brilliant line from A Course in Miracles that highlights this point beautifully, which says, "Let us not forget that words are merely symbols of symbols. Thus, they are twice removed from reality." First, the mind perceives reality according to its own distorted reference frame, and that's once removed. And then the mind comes up with words and definitions to slap on top of those perceptions, and then it only refers to those words and definitions, and that's twice removed. And yet, the greatest travesty of all this is the way that we remove ourselves from who we are by labeling ourselves. What we refer to as I is a sort of scrapbook full of stories and memories and ideas and beliefs that we've collected over time. And this is the prison that we build around ourselves. And so you could say that enlightenment is the art of studying the prison cell of ideas that you've built around yourself and deeply questioning those ideas until they fall apart. This is how you red pill yourself. To know your prison cell is the only escape from it. It is the nature of the mind to see and to say only what is false. Because again, the mind can only refer to labels. Only you, pure awareness, can know reality. And so we never want to make the mind into our enemy, because it truly is not. Ignorance is the enemy, not the mind. The mind will simply reflect whatever you give attention to. And so by simply divorcing your attention from the labels and experiencing the pure presence and essence of everything, the mind becomes quiet. Because the mind can only think, but reality is silent. And so once you are without labels, you'll find that the mind is naturally without thoughts. All thoughts are illusions. And so when you think you know what something is, you are lost, because you believe that an illusion is true. Thoughts do not reach reality. And so once you can see reality without thoughts, you have reached it.